This is a 1,500 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath shop home that is wind rated at 150 miles an hour. I'm going to be giving you the full price breakdown from the house pad to the finishing touches and everything in between. I really appreciate everyone tuning in, so sit back, relax, and let's get into this build. When you start the house building process, the first thing to consider is the construction site. Depending on the property that you end up purchasing, there can be a huge variance in how much time, money, and prep needs to be done before you're actually ready to build the house. I dug a pond, as you can see right here, to build up my house pad and to put dirt down for driveways, and I also buried my utilities over 600 feet to get to where the house is currently. So my site prep was a little more time consuming and expensive than what most people might find. Now that we're done talking about dirt, I have some actual numbers from the foundation up of what it costs to build this house. Starting with the foundation, I used lumber that I used from previous projects to build the concrete forms, so I didn't actually spend any money on lumber, and I also used vegetable oil to oil the forms up. That way when I'm done pouring concrete, I can reuse those boards again in the future. There are plenty of areas that I save money by providing labor and expertise myself, and then there are also some areas where I hired a professional. One of those areas was hiring a plumber, especially for the plumbing rough-in, which goes in the ground under the foundation and then stubs up through the concrete. This is not an area where I wanted to make a costly mistake and have a pipe coming up, say 1 inch or 2 inches away from where it's supposed to be. You don't want a toilet stubbed up where you should have a wall at. So I hired out the plumbing to a professional plumber. Materials and labor cost me $2,800 to get the rough-in the slab complete. And while he was here with the machine, I had him go ahead and dig the footers around the perimeter of the concrete forms. The footers are 1 foot deep and 1 foot wide, and they have 2 continuous runs of rebar in them. The rebar costs $248. We also installed plastic vapor barrier underneath to keep moisture from permeating up through the slab. The moisture barrier cost $138. The concrete slab is 6 inches thick, which is thicker than the required 4 inches. The concrete with the added fiberglass reinforcement came out to $62.19. Pouring and finishing concrete requires a lot of skilled labor, so once again, I hired professionals. The concrete finishers charged $1,050 for their labor. The house itself is a tubular steel building that I ordered from Safeguard Metal Buildings. I really like the tube steel buildings because they go up quick, they're termite, rot, and mold resistant, and they're rated for 130 to 160 mile-an-hour winds. The building itself was $15,500, including shipping and installation on site. The install crew was very efficient and had the entire building assembled in 1 day. I provided custom residential doors for the install crew to install. The 3 exterior doors cost a total of $971. I do not like carrying keys with me everywhere I go, so I splurged a little bit and got electronic deadbolts. The deadbolts and exterior door handles cost a total of $226. From there, I added energy-efficient vinyl windows. I purchased all the windows from Lowe's for $1,389. I did have to buy some extra J-channel to trim out the windows at a cost of $230. Now, it's time to frame the inside of the house. All the lumber for framing the inside of the house cost a total of $2,120. I was able to get a few friends together and we had the entire inside framed up in just a couple of days. Framing is one of the more satisfying trades to do because at the end of the day, you can look around and see all the progress that you actually made. It's also something that's easy to go back and fix if you happen to mess something up. So you don't have to be super precise like you do with the plumbing that's in the slab. Speaking of plumbing, I had my plumber come back out for a cost of $4,800, which included materials and labor, to do the entire top out and get this house ready for the rough-in inspection. He also installed the tub and shower kit for the guest bathroom, which cost me $788. I own an air conditioning company, so we handled installing the air conditioning and ventilation ourselves. All of the materials for all of the AC and ventilation cost just under $7,000. This includes the package unit, all of the associated ductwork, the thermostat, the bathroom vents, the stove hood vent behind me, and the vent for the dryer. Luckily, my buddy Jay is an electrician, so I also had help on doing the electrical rough-in. He gave me a discount on the labor, and the total for all of my materials and labor came out to $8,000. Once all the rough-ins are complete, it was time for me to schedule the rough-in inspection. We passed our inspection on the first try, and now it's time to insulate the house. Every building requires a moisture barrier to keep moisture from penetrating through the walls and into the home. I decided to use closed cell foam to provide both the moisture barrier and insulation to the entire exterior of this metal building. I have 2 inches of closed cell insulation on the walls and the roof, and then I have an additional 4 inches of open cell insulation on the ceiling in here, which provides extra insulation and noise reduction. Surprisingly, it's actually cheaper to hire a professional to do all your spray foam. You could buy DIY kits, but you're going to spend almost twice as much money to get the same amount of spray foam insulation. And you're also going to have to do all the work yourself. My spray foam contractor charged me a total of $9,300 to install all the spray foam for me. I installed fiberglass insulation bats in the framed out sections of all of my exterior walls and in my interior wall compartments for noise reduction. This gives my exterior walls an R value of R26. The extra installation costed $1,154. Up next is the ceiling. I saved time and money by using a primed ply bead, also known as a beadboard, for the ceiling. I got the material from Home Depot for a total cost of $595. Once again, I got a few buddies together and we were able to install all the ceilings in just one day. This is much easier, quicker, and cleaner than doing sheetrock. In the living room, I chose to install LP SmartSide for a strong, durable finish. SmartSide is technically an exterior siding, and it has a tongue and groove system to where you don't have any joints in between the boards. This saves a little time and money. The SmartSide cost a total of $640. In the guest bedroom, we used 3/8 plywood for all the interior walls. This was sort of an experiment to see how the plywood would look compared to sheetrock. It's also a very durable finish. The plywood cost $326. In the remaining rooms, I used exterior grade sheetrock. Exterior sheetrock is different than interior sheetrock. Interior sheetrock has little bevels to where you can tape and put mud to float your interior wall. Exterior sheetrock is a little different. It has square edges, so they just butt up to each other, and there's no beveled area for sheetrock tape or mud. What I'm going to do is come back and put trim strips over the butt joints on all the sheetrock. That way, I don't have to tape, mud, or float any sheetrock in my house. This will save me a lot of time and headache and a lot of mess, and also it'll give a neat board and batten aesthetic. All the sheetrock cost $1,305. Now it's time for paint. I sprayed 20 gallons of Glidden interior paint on the spray foam ceiling to make it all black. The SmartSide in the living room and the beadboard in the ceilings were already primed, so I only had to prime the sheetrock walls and then paint all the surfaces. All of the paint for the entire house came to just under $1,000. Most of my interior doors are 34 inches wide. I had to custom order those through a local door shop at a cost of $170 a piece. I installed all the interior doors myself for a total of $850. All of the interior door knobs cost an additional $65. As we finish up this build, it's time to think about trim. The window stools and all of the interior trim for the windows cost $256. Door casing and all of the baseboard for the house cost a total of $363. I installed all of this trim myself, which is a bit of a time-consuming task, but it saved me a lot of money in labor. Next up is the crown molding. I purchased 1x4s from Home Depot and used leftover stain and sealer to make them match the cabinets. Then I tacked them into place with my brad nailer. This was a very simple and efficient process, and all of the crown molding only cost me $125. I hired a professional to build the shower. It's a huge peace of mind knowing that this is done correctly and professionally, and I'll never have to worry about this shower ever again. The custom tile shower costs $4,835 for materials and labor. I also paid a professional to sand and seal the concrete floors at a cost of $1,000. I also opted for custom alder wood cabinets, both top and bottom, matching throughout the house. That means the bathrooms, the kitchen, and the laundry room all have matching custom cabinets. All of the cabinets cost a total of $8,545. That includes them coming out to install them. Since the cabinets were unfinished wood, I went ahead and spent $200 on wood conditioner, stain, and sealer. I got some friends to come over and help me stain all the cabinets, and then came back and put 2 coats of a high gloss sealer to seal in all the stain and keep water and other liquids from soaking into the cabinets in the future. The countertops was one of the most difficult choices to make of this entire build. I definitely wanted to go with a quartz countertop because it's man-made and non-porous, so it has the lowest maintenance of any of the natural stone countertops out there. After going out to the yard and looking at all the different materials that they had on hand, I decided to go with this speckled black quartz, which I really like. The quartz countertops, including the sinks, came out to a total of $4,742. Personally, I really like the idea of saving both space and money when building a house, so I opted for an instant water heater. This takes up very little space on the wall and is actually cheaper than a good-sized tank water heater. The instant water heater costs $459. In the kitchen, I chose a sleek, modern, all-in-one faucet at a cost of $199. In the bathrooms, I chose brushed bronze faucets at a cost of $60 a piece for a total of $180. For the tub and the shower, I chose all-in-one valves because they only require 1 penetration and they have a more modern look. In total, the shower and bathtub faucets cost $186. The toilets cost $199 each for a total of $398. I spent $200 building shelving in the closet. I do plan on going back and upgrading that in the future. The last thing that I installed was shower curtain rods at a cost of $45 a piece for a total of $90. So after adding everything up, this entire house cost me a grand total of $88,129. There are some areas that I certainly could have saved a little bit of money, like the custom walk-in shower, the custom cabinets, and the granite countertops, to have kept this entire build at under $80,000. That being said, I'm glad I splurged a little bit to get some higher end finishes. I hope you enjoyed this video and tune back in for more episodes of Dude, We Can Build It.